Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a news video. As promised last weekend, I said I was going to be making a news video to kind of recap really what's happening around Milan in terms of transfers, potential players coming to the club, and I'll be kind of giving you this recap today, considering the players in which we are closest to, or at least there have been ongoing negotiations. And as usual, I want to know your take on these players. I want to know your opinions on what you believe about these players. Are they players that are suitable enough to join Milan? Are they players that you would personally want to see playing at the club? Or maybe not. Maybe you have alternatives to these players that you would prefer instead. So let me know exactly your thoughts on these players that I'm about to mention, and I guess we could just get started right away. So the first player that I wanted to speak about is, of course, Musacchio. Lots of talks have been ongoing regarding this player, and as we all recall, last summer he was our primary target, at least for the defense, where we tried to sign him over and over again, but the necessary funds in order to sign him never actually came in. As we all know, with the delay going on for that sale, we were never really able to sign Musacchio or any other big player in terms of transfer fees. But now it seems that Milan are finally ready. They're ready to sign him, and it might actually be that he's the first player that will be signed under the new ownership. Now, in the past few days, several sources have reported that Milan had reached an agreement with Villarreal to sign the player for 18 million euros plus bonuses. Now, Milan have also offered the player a 4-year contract, and even though the deal is just not official yet, it seems that it is very likely to happen once the season is done. Of course, the player was actually asked regarding his future of him potentially joining another club, and he said that he is focusing right now on the remaining few games that are currently going on with Villarreal before making any more judgments considering his future. But it really does appear to be that Musacchio is going to be the first signing of this new ownership, and I want to know your thoughts about him in the comments section. I asked this question a few days ago on Twitter regarding him, regarding just what people would actually consider about him. Would he be a good player to join Milan, or would people actually prefer other players? And I've got a bit of some mixed reactions. Some people weren't too fond about this. They were actually thinking about other players. So let me know exactly your thoughts as well in the comments section. Now, the next player I did want to speak about is, of course, Alvaro Morata. It seems to be that he's one of the primary targets as far as the attack goes. Of course, the other main target is Aubameyang, but it seems to be that his wages that he's currently asking for, I think it's about 12 million euros, are just too much for Milan at the moment. Of course, it's never done than said, really, when until like it really happens. We cannot just say that Aubameyang is not going to be a Milan player. It's a long summer, anything could happen, so of course we still have to have our options open. But it really seems to be that Milan is currently going for Morata as possibly the replacement to Bacca. But the thing is that there's also a lot of interest from other teams around Europe, such as Man United, Chelsea. Teams are playing in the Premier League, and Chelsea especially, if they're able to get their hands on him, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be welcoming that option, as they will be playing in the Champions League, and I'm sure he would prefer playing in the Champions League than possibly in the Europa League next season. So lots of different factors currently going on in terms of this deal, but Milan are definitely very, very interested in this player. Morata actually scored 18 goals in all competitions this season for Real Madrid, and like I said, he's one of the options that Milan is currently going for, besides Aubameyang. But if Milan is not capable of getting one of these two guys, then they might shift their focus towards Kalinic, the player, of course, from Fiorentina, which is also a good option, but I don't personally think is on the level of those two guys that I mentioned before. But once again, it is still very early in May, and the transfer season doesn't start until July, so there's still a lot of ongoing negotiations that will be going on and on for many, many days, of course. The next player on the list is, of course, Keita Baldé. Now, this guy is another player that we've been speaking about for a very, very long time, starting from last summer. Much like Musacchio, he was one of our primary targets to sign, even this past winter. But once again, the problem of the transfer funds was once again the main issue, as they never came in and we were unable to sign Keita Baldé. Now, over the past few days, it seems to be that Juventus have been in contact actually with his agent. However, it seems that Milan have the slighter advantage nonetheless at the moment, as Keita knows that he will be a main player for Milan's future project. Now, Keita scored 13 goals in all competitions this season so far for Lazio. And, you know, I think that statement regarding the importance of a role at the club could be the final decision maker for Keita. Because, like we've seen with various players, even though they're high caliber players and they do join Juventus, oftentimes, since their squad is so competitive, it's not really said that they will have a major role at the club. Most of these players, like we have seen, their bench is very, very strong, so they might even just be part of their bench and come on as substitutes. They're not really said to conquer a full-time place in that starting 11 for Juventus. So if I was Keita Baldé, I would definitely welcome other options. I'm not just saying that because we are Milan fans, but thinking of it, if his major goal is to get a very central role at a club, then possibly, joining Milan would be the better option for him than joining Juventus. But this all remains to be seen as well. And the other player that we are very interested in and contacts have been really, really ongoing for him is, of course, Franck Kessié, the man from Atalanta. And, like I said, negotiations have been going on with Atalanta regarding the player for the past few days, and Milan have actually offered Atalanta 28 million euros to sign the player. And in terms of contract length and wages, Milan offered Kessie a 5-year contract with wages of 2.2 million a year, and really the only obstacle that remains at the moment is their competition with Roma. Roma have a slightly less offer for the player towards Atalanta. They actually offered 25 million euros plus bonuses, but it seems to be that the player actually prefers to join Milan instead. And at the moment, I believe that Kessie could be a very good addition to the Milan's midfield. I think he's definitely a very important piece to have. He's shown very good things with Atalanta this season, and I think if he does join Milan, he could only do very good things as well. He scored 7 goals in all competitions so far this season for Atalanta. Of course, he is a midfielder, so he's not really supposed to be known for his goal scoring, but he's a very strong physical presence to have in that midfield, and I think it is very important to have him at Milan. Let me know your thoughts regarding Kessie, because I know certain people might be thinking, 28 million euros is maybe a bit too much for this type of player, a player that is still young, maybe hasn't proven himself just yet in the Serie A. But let me know exactly your thoughts on that, as well as all the other players. I'll be reading your thoughts and comments for the next 5 to 10 minutes. There's also been other real talks regarding players at Milan, in which I just want to briefly mention to give you a full recap of really what's going on. The situation with Donnarumma, it seems that, Milan are still trying to convince Raiola for this contract extension, this contract renewal, and Raiola is currently not in Italy. I think he's with Ibrahimovic at the moment, taking care of his injury and so forth. So I think when he does return to Italy, that's when Milan could discuss regarding the Donnarumma contract renewal. Same thing goes for Suso. Definitely contract renewal is in the talks for him. I did mention, I think a few weeks ago, that Suso, I think he had changed his mind regarding wages or something like that, because and that could pretty much be the factor in between at the moment for the possible contract renewal. But then again, I'm pretty sure we will be ending up keeping Suso for the long run, so I don't think that should be a problem. Anyways, regardless, these contract renewal talks should be taking place in the weeks to come. I will be updating you guys with the latest details about those transactions once the time comes. And also, I want to speak about Pasalic, because his agent said today that they're remaining calm and they're waiting until the end of the season to find out what's gonna happen with Milan, whether or not he will be staying at Milan or he will be going back to Chelsea. So we're gonna have to wait and see for that. But without further ado, guys, let's get into your comments. Let's see what your thoughts are regarding these players that I mentioned. Giuliano says Kessie is a beast. Maybe he is in the next 5 years, 50 million worth. Of course, this is a price tag that Milan might have to take advantage of. And like you said there, Giuliano, in the long run, this player could actually be worth more. And I think, he's definitely a player that could be worthy of Milan. I've seen him play this season several times, and I was very impressed with his performances. And I think, a player like him that's still 20 years of age, playing like that with high caliber in such a demanding league like the Serie A, he's definitely a player that could do very good things for even a top club like Milan. So if he's done what he's capable of doing in Atalanta, then rest assured he should be able to do the same in a top club like Milan. That's pretty much my point on the player. Moving on, Milan Fever says, we are interested in Duncan and Pellegrini. What do you think, Gio? I've also read about those rumors. There's still nothing really ongoing with those players, especially Duncan Pellegrini, regarding negotiations. It's just simple interest. It's players like we have seen all season round. Not all season round, but every transfer window, we always seem to be interested in 50 players or even more. So it's just a simple interest at the moment. There aren't really any ongoing negotiations from what I know. But Duncan is definitely a very interested player. I've also read reports about Sansone. But I simply don't think that, a guy like Sansone is the key to have for the future of Milan in terms of actually achieving positive results in Europe or Italy for that matter. I think he's a good player, but whether he's a big upgrade to Bacca, I simply don't think so. So that's pretty much my take on it. Kessie is worth the 28 million. He bosses the midfield like no other player in the Serie A, says Petrit. Isaac says, I think Keita will be like 50 or 60 million in the next year. Well, definitely Keita is one of those players that scores a lot of goals for Lazio. Very influential, very fast. And I think if we don't keep Deulofeu, he could be a very good replacement for him. So definitely I'll be welcome him with open arms. But once again, that's the question, it's a lot of money, and Milan need to spread their money very cautiously because they have to make fixes in various departments this season, this off season, in the summer. So they're gonna have to be careful exactly where they spend their money, and they're gonna spend it smart. Abdul says, Gio, I don't believe we will land Kessie or Keita. Kessie will move to the Premier League and Keita will resign with Lazio. Well, the thing is with Kessie is that, the recent reports have suggested that he's very interested in joining Milan. He actually prefers Milan to Roma. And I definitely agree with the fact that maybe some Premier League clubs could offer more to Atalanta in order to get the player. But at the end of the day, it all really depends on the player's intentions. Whether he will be open to a move to the Premier League or he wants to stay in Italy. And I do understand your concern there because, a very young age playing in the Premier League could be maybe a bit more of an attraction than playing in the Serie A. But let's not forget, it doesn't really mean that just because he's going to the Premier League, he's going to be a star over there. He's going to be playing a lot of games like he has been doing in Atalanta or in the Serie A. Once again, moving to another league is always a big gamble for me because you never exactly know what to expect. And I think, especially for young players, this is the case over and over again. But then again, we have to see what his intentions are, how the future will plan out. The next few weeks will definitely be crucial to know his future. Same thing goes for Keita. But once again, it's still very, very early. And the transfer season is not only going to start in 2 months from now, the transfer window. So, it's still very, very early. And I think we should all take these rumors or these reports just like a pinch of salt. Really, we shouldn't be taking it as something that is definitely gonna happen. It's still very early, and that's my take on this. Moving on, I actually want to know some of your thoughts regarding Musacchio, because not lots of people have been speaking about Musacchio. Azem says Musacchio is a very solid defender. His stats compared to that of Ramos and Pepe, and actually better defensively. Yeah, I'll be happy with Musacchio. Like I said, I think he could complement Romagnoli very, very well, and Paletta would be like a second option to him. I think that will be pretty much a very good move in terms of center backs. We will be set for the future, having two solid younger type of players. I think Musacchio is actually 26, so he's gonna be older than Romagnoli, but still brings that experience to the game. And like I said before, if we actually do think of keeping Paletta, he could be a perfect substitute for any of those two players, which brings in experience and other things as well. Nikesh says, Gio, how strong can we be on the transfer season? And are Mia, Bailey, and Fasone as Galliani and can get world-class players? Well, they definitely have their contacts. They could definitely get the world-class players. And more importantly, it's what matters is the transfer money that we have at our disposal. Lots of people are still questioning what's the amount we have. And it's always been around 140 to 150 million. So we should be able to spend a lot of money in the summer transfer window to get world-class players. Like Fasone mentioned in a recent press conference, the main objective is to make this team very, very strong and competitive enough to reach different fronts and to actually, dominate on those fronts. So I think it's for sure that we will be making world-class signings this summer. But at the same time, we're going to have to, wait and see exactly who we are able to sign. As I mentioned before, we need to make smart signings more than not, because 140 to 150 million might not necessarily seem like a lot of money nowadays in terms of transfer money. But then again, you can still make like 5-6 smart purchases, and that could definitely fix your team in many departments, or at least make it better. Abdul says, Gio, who would you want Milan to target for the striker role? Please include realistic signings. Cristiano Ronaldo, just joking there. But for the striker role, I think Morata would be a very good option. Aubameyang is definitely my dream option. Kalinic, he's a good option, but I don't see him as a player that, will win you major trophies all the time. And yeah, he might seem like an upgrade over Bacca, but then again, I just don't know. Also, another player that I would definitely really love is Belotti. If he comes there, having an Italian striker like him, the future of Italy, playing at Milan, that would be just amazing. But then again, that's a very hard to reach target. Giuliano says the only good thing about Musacchio is that he already played in the Europa League. Safe says Musacchio is a great defender, but the issue with him is that he is very injury prone. DRV says he's better than Paletta and Zapata for sure. The Polito 1990 says, I heard Darmian from Man United could be coming to Milan. Says Mourinho is not very fond of Darmian. Thoughts? Also read about that, and I think a return to Milan could be a possibility for Darmian. Let's not forget that he is one of our products from the youth academy. But yeah, Darmian, I've always liked Darmian, especially when he was playing in the Italian national team. I don't think he's had a very good spell at Man United, and that's why Mourinho is not very fond of him. Would I welcome him at Milan? I think he's a definitely very good option to have. He's still a very good fullback. I think he's a player that could do very good things, and if there's been interest from Premier League clubs, then he could definitely do good at Milan. And now he's 27 years old, more experienced, just a better player overall. And I think a return to the Serie A could be definitely in the books for him as a right back. So yeah, he's definitely a welcoming option. Don't forget that we also have Calabria, another very good prospect there on the right flank, on the right back side. And Darmian, he's versatile. He can play on any position there in that defense line. So, for the right price, I think he could be a good option to have, for sure. Just a few more questions before I sign off here. Gearing Handy says, Gio, what do you think about Raiola's sneaky moves to get Donnarumma a better contract, like offering him to Inter? I think it's just plain stupidity, to be honest. I don't even believe that that's true, to offer him to Inter. Even though that was true, I mean, it's pretty idiotic to even think of such a thing. First of all, because Donnarumma wouldn't accept Inter for whatever price it is. So simply, don't believe everything you guys read in the reports in the newspapers, on the internet, guys. There's honestly a lot of sources out there just there to make money, just there to kind of convince the reader into thinking that something is true. But that's definitely not the case for Donnarumma. I mean, he's definitely never gonna join Inter. But like I said, in the next few weeks, Milan should be discussing with Raiola regarding the contract extension, the contract renewal for Donnarumma. Joaquin Vides says Musacchio is a must. Morata and a midfielder that knows how to pass. Also, Isco will be the best. Although I see it also as impossible. Fabregas would be good. Yeah, like you said there, Musacchio I think could be a very good addition. Morata as well. Midfielder that could pass the ball. Kessie would be an amazing signing, I think. There's definitely other players like that you mentioned. Fabregas bringing in the experience. He's still not that old, so I think he could definitely do the job, get the job done for at least another 2-3 years here at Milan if he does join. But we need definitely world-class players that have experience, that know how to win games, and can do very good things for Milan. One or two more questions here. Bass says, do you think Papu Gomez could come? As I think he really likes the idea. I think he likes the idea. He's done very good things for Atalanta. Very interesting player, that's for sure. Doesn't have, European experience when it comes to competitions. But what he's shown this season, is a very good thing. But I don't know if I would take a very big gamble on him. That's my case. What do you think about getting back Niang? This is going to be the last question about today. A lot of people are actually asking about this. Well, getting back Niang, I think that he should be coming back nonetheless. Because, if I'm not mistaken, the only way that Watford had that mandatory clause on him in order to buy him is if he scored something like 9 goals or 10 goals. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he will be returning to Milan, that's for sure, at the end of June, because he won't be reaching those numbers with Watford. So yeah, he will be returning. Whether Milan will be keeping him for the long run or not, that all remains to be seen. But we're definitely gonna have to evaluate him very well this summer to see if he's an option that Milan will be able to keep, or just send him to another team instead. We're definitely going to have to check that out and evaluate him. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for today's transfer news video, guys. Obviously, I haven't been making many videos recently, but it's still very, very early, and that's why I don't want to make daily updates just yet, considering these news. It's still the month of May, so what I think I'm going to be doing from now on until at least June is making a weekly recap of all the news going on. So maybe, let's say, on the Friday, like today, I'm going to be speaking exactly about all the rumors and news that have been going on throughout the week. And then when June comes, when it gets closer to the transfer window start, I think I'm going to be making more and more videos during the week to speak about that. Also, guys, don't forget that tomorrow there will be the match preview for the big game against Roma. And on Sunday, of course, we will be following that with the match review. So make sure you're subscribed to Rossoneri TV if you aren't just yet. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy the video. And I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow for another video. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan.